At 7:03 on a washed-out Thursday morning, I watched two deputies step onto my neighbor's porch, hold out a paper like a mirror. She couldn't dodge, then knock 3 times. That sounded almost polite, 400 yards away. On my security feed, I saw the HOA president who had chained my road shut try to close her own door. A forearm stopped it. Her voice went fast and sharp, and then the cuffs clicked a small metallic truth, and I finally took a full breath. My name is Evan Bennett. I'm a large animal vet in Cedar Hollow County, Texas, and the road in question is not a metaphor to me. It's the line my grandfather poured in 1987 so we could get hay in and sick horses out. The kind of road you fix with your hands and a rented roller. When the heat turns asphalt to taffy, I had permit TX it's 2048847 taped to my tailgate. A 2021 survey folded to the page where the boundary line sits 20 feet clear of that strip, and I was covered in dust that stuck to the sweat on my neck when a silver Lexus rolled up like it didn't want to get its tires dirty. The woman stepped out, looking like a press release blazer in June, hair tight enough to sing. She stopped at the edge of fresh gravel and said, "Excuse me, are you aware this access road falls under Maple Ridge, HOA jurisdiction?" I killed the roller, peeled off my gloves. One finger at a time, pulled a waterproof folder from my truck and handed her the deed, the survey, the permit. "All of this sits on my property," I said, even not loud 20 feet inside the line. She let her eyes skate across the pages like they were optional. Reading snapped 3 photos in a rhythm she'd practiced. Road truck, my face, and gave me a smile that didn't move her eyes. "We'll verify with legal. I'm Lori Kendall, HOA president then." The Lexus purred away like good news. The gate showed up before sunrise. Monday, 8 feet of steel set into concrete pads that materialized out of nowhere, a chain thick as my wrist, and a red and white sign that read, HOA Managed Road. No trespassing. I sat there with the engine idling and a colic call already pinging my phone. Thought about the bolt cutters in my toolbox and the exact picture they wanted me to paint of myself. Then I put the truck in reverse and drove 8 miles around to the highway. Yeah, that happened by noon. A violation notice was clipped to my front gate. Article 7. 3. Road Maintenance Authority. $250 per day. By evenings, a lawyer left me a syrup and steel voicemail about an amicable resolution, and the neighborhood app pinned a red banner accusing me of blocking emergency access. Photo angled to make my patched concrete look like a crime scene. You know what I mean. How official paper weighs more than other paper. I did what my father taught me when he made me log vaccines in the barn office. I documented photos from every angle, with timestamps, and long a voice memo with the date and minute scans of the deed, the survey, the permit, all of it into a cloud folder named, like a clerk would name it, HOA Dispute Documents. Lori called at 9 the next morning. "Let's resolve this," she said, puffy. "Neutral ground. We met at a place where muffins cost extra to warm." I set my phone on the table with the recorder app open. Texas is one-party consent, and didn't pretend to hide it. "Of course," she said, and slid a 2-inch folder across, like a magic trick. "Your father consented to a shared access easement in 2022. The photocopy she pushed over had my dad's name in a script. I know better than my own temper. The thing is, my dad had early Parkinson's. His downstrokes tremble. His B has a wobble. The signature in front of me was skating rink smooth. "Show me the original." I said, with his ink or mine. She smiled thinner. It's in the master restriction for the area. The county rezoned. The access roads for emergency routes and community safety. The words were familiar. The dance was familiar too. My land predates your HOA by 40 years. I said, I didn't sign your restriction. My father didn't either. I took a high-res photo of her photocopy anyway and left with a cold spot behind my ribs. The county records building is a squat brick room that smells like paper and air filters. A clerk with readers on a chain rolled me boxes that made the table groan. 2 hours in, I found. Boundary Amendment 2204, a clean line nudged 15 feet toward my property. A landowner, consent signed with my father's name in a hand that had never trembled. The hearing notice had been mailed to 217 Bennett Road. I live at 200. The envelope was stamped undeliverable, but a box was checked anyway. Notice provided. I laid the amendment beside 5 documents with his real signature. The hospital discharge, the feed store. Check the codicil. 2 tax payments, and you didn't need to be an expert to see it. The forgery was too perfect. On the way out, I asked, planning and zoning for the original packet. The clerk sighed and came back with a folder that included a staff note about no objections on file. That little line carried more weight than a lot of shouting. I called a surveyor named Marshall, who has walked more fence lines than I've had birthdays. He traced my boundary with sub-inch GPS and showed me 2 overlays on his tablet. County line is right, he said. Your road sits 20 feet inside, but they filed an alternate line legally. The county record controls, practically. You're in a gray area until a judge strips the amendment out. I paid him, ordered a written report, then went home to find my porch sprinkled with beer cans and fast food wrappers, like a trash fairy had visited to make a point. I photographed it and swept it, and installed 4 cameras. Gate road, porch driveway, night vision, cloud, backup. Simple eyes that don't blink. The pressure campaign got loud. The app pinned that red banner. Sure. Handed me a check without meeting my eyes. Another asked, flat out, if I'd blocked an emergency route. A third texted a cancellation mid-morning, Oaks. I had pulled calves for it 2A. Now looked at me like I'd parked on a fire hydrant. Meanwhile, the paper trail started talking, tucked into an incorporation packet. I found a printed email where Lori wrote that shifting the boundary 15 feet added $240,000 to a development's value. I called my attorney, Kelsey Brooks. She listened, then said the word. I'd been dancing around fraud. By afternoon, we had an emergency injunction drafted and a criminal referral packet with photos. Marshall's preliminary, the misaddress. The side-by-side signatures. That night at 11:02, Lori emailed final notice. Remove unauthorized construction or face penalties. I typed without thinking, see you in court. I'll bring my own map, and then I let my hands shake where no one could see, and wondered, what if I'm wrong? You know that feeling, right? The twist showed up as a name I didn't recognize. This is Mark Whitaker, the HOA vice president, he said. Voice low, like he was confessing to a priest. I didn't sign what she filed under my name, and I don't think your father did either. We met at a diner with vinyl booths that heal nothing and still help. I put my recorder on the table. I consent, he said, and slid me a USB with red tape on it. He had refused to sign a bundle expanding HOA authority to parcels outside the neighborhood 2 weeks later. The county file had his signature, anyway. Westfield Development was waiting to buy after the HOA created easements. Lori was getting a cut, $85 grand, already parked in an LLC with her daughter's name on it, and an audio file captured her saying, what crooks always say, when they think no one's listening. The vet is the test case if he fights, bury him in legal fees until he gives up. We took it to Kelsey then, to the Assistant District Attorney, Claudia Reyes. The forensic document examiner compared 4 questioned signatures to a dozen known examples and said it like a clean cut. Simulations, not authentic. No tremor, consistent with Parkinson's inconsistent pressure. Unnatural pen lifts. The detective told me not to contact Lori, not to post, let them work. So I did the hardest thing. I stayed quiet. I watched my business wobble on the rumor mill and kept feeding the machine proof. Dawn crept up soft on the day. Everything shifted. I opened my laptop to the 4-feed grid. Gate road, porch driveway, poured coffee. I didn't need, and at 6:58, 3 sheriff's cruisers slid into Maple Ridge like a chess move. No sirens, no swagger. Knock papers. Shown the door opened, and from 400 yards away, you could read Lori's posture like a book shock. Denial, a last grasp at control. She tried to swing the door shut. A deputy's arm kept it open like physics. She stepped out in a robe. The detective's mouth moved in a rhythm. I recognized she pointed down the street. Talked fast, twisted more out of habit than hope. One wrist, then the other. Click. Click. Neighbors came out like prairie dogs. After a storm, phones up, someone across the street narrated to nobody. And everybody, 2 teenagers on bikes, got waved back with the same calm hand you use on a nervous horse. The cruisers rolled away, and my camera's red light kept blinking like a heartbeat. If you're waiting for a cheer, it didn't feel like that. I sat with both hands on the table because my legs had gone rubber. Not triumph, exactly. More like the release when you realize you've been breathing shallow for weeks. The gate was still locked, the chain still heavy. But a lock I couldn't touch had turned somewhere else, and sometimes that's the only lever you need. That's the win I'm willing to claim. And here's where the debate starts. Should a neighborhood board be able to redraw a line while a man is in a hospital bed? Should a developer be allowed to treat an HOA like a speedboat to push profit through shallow water? Should people trust a red banner more than a deed that predates their mortgage? Tell me what you think. Drop a comment. Argue with me. Agree with me. Tell me where you've seen power. Hide inside polite language and how you pushed back. And if this hit close to home, share it with someone who's in a quiet fight right now and tap subscribe. So the next time a small truth needs a microphone, you'll be here when it speaks. You know what I mean?